I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Zachary King. Be sure to watch my films, Occult Louisiana, available on Tubi, Roku channel, and multiple streaming platforms. Doors of Perception is available on Amazon Prime. It should be available on the other streamers very soon. We're booking guests for September. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Be sure to RSVP for the Forbidden Gathering, September 12th through 14th in Fort Collins, Colorado. We'll be having food, podcasts, a hike in the mountains. It is free to attend. If you'd like to attend, RSVP to forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com with subject gathering. It is a potluck event, so we ask that you bring food or drink to contribute. We hope to see as many of you as possible there. Today I want to welcome Zachary King. He is an international speaker and former high wizard for a satanic coven who shares the story of his miraculous escape from Satanism. Zachary, welcome. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm excellent. It is great to have you. We're really looking forward to hearing your story, getting your insights to share with the audience. You started practicing magic at a very young age, and that led you down an extremely dark path. But you eventually had a miraculous experience that led you down your current path, and this is such an incredible story. There's so much to discuss here. Before we do, this is your first time on. Let the audience know first how they can find out more about you.
You can find me at my website, allsaintsministry.org. I also have a Spotify account. It's All Saints Ministry, but mine has the front and back of a miraculous medal and 2 candles on it, because there's a lot of All Saints Ministries on there. My phone number is 802-578-6554. My email address is mysticforgod@yahoo.com. And on my website is the link to my Spotify account, link to my YouTube channel. I also put out YouTube shorts. I actually have a pair of YouTube shorts, a pair of shorts that say YouTube on them. I think what else? I have a Twitter account, but not called Twitter anymore. But I think I've only posted like Merry Christmas to my one fan, my one follower, back like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. I never post on it. I've got a Facebook page, but I haven't posted on that in over a year. I think that's about everything.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for that, Zachary, and thank you again for joining us. Let's start from the beginning with this. I know that you started from a very young age practicing magic, but let's hear your story as much as you can tell with the time we have.
All right. So by the time I was 10 years old, I had seen every movie that had magic in it and had watched like Doug Henning and David Copperfield form an illusion on television. And I wanted magic to work. I wanted magic to be real, but I didn't want to pull a rabbit out of a hat or show you a card trick. I wanted to levitate or do something that, like there's 2 types of magic. There's MAGIC, and that's Doug Henning's sleight of hand, an illusion, making an elephant disappear. But the biggest disappointment to me was finding out that when they did a TV special and it showed an elephant disappear from one spot and then reappear in another spot, there was no magic involved in that. That was the camera turning off and then reappearing over here where they built the exact same set that the elephant was on over here where there's no elephants. And then it was just a trickery. And then everybody that was on the set had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So they had to swear that they're not going to tell everybody what really happened. You know, and I was like, no, that's not what I want. I want to do a real magic spell. I want to make somebody levitate, make myself levitate. Hey, if I could levitate all the way to school, I'd be the coolest kid in school. And if I could make money appear out of nowhere, you know, if I could make something appear or disappear at will, that would be great. You know, and I mean, I was reading Doctor Strange in comic books. I was watching the early version of Marvel movies we had on television. There was a Spider-Man show that wasn't just a cartoon. It was an actual show that came out. It was terrible. You know, the special effects were horrible. And, you know, him walking a tightrope made it look like a web. And, but I still wanted those superhero special effects in my real life. And so I asked my Baptist preacher, who seems to know the whole Bible, and my dad, who seemed to know part of the Bible anyway, if magic was real. Is this something I can really do? And my Baptist preacher and my parents all said no. Magic is fake. It's not true. It's just stuff of comic books or fantasy movies. Magic is nothing you can really do. Now, I'd like to pause here for a second and say, how did my parents and my Baptist preacher, now my Baptist preacher should know, like he had to go to college to learn this. He should have read the entire Bible. It says in the Bible 33 times not to do magical things. Now, thou shalt not lie is in the Bible once. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. Those are big commandments, but they're all in the Bible one time. And if it was impossible to lie, thou shalt not lie wouldn't be there. If it was impossible to steal or kill, God would not command you to not do it if you could not do it. It's like we don't have a speed limit sign that says don't go over 700 miles an hour because nobody can do it. So if he's saying don't do magical things 33 times, then perhaps doing magic, one, is capable. It's something you can do if he's telling you not to do it. And two, maybe it's more important that you not do magic than you don't lie, because he only said don't lie once. He said don't do magical things 33 times. Somehow my Baptist preacher and my dad didn't read those verses because they said it was impossible. Now, my train of thought here as a child was, my dad has told me things in the past that weren't true. He thought they were true, but they weren't true. Or he was wrong, or he was lying. I didn't know which one it was, but maybe this is the case. Maybe they know it works and they don't want me to do it because, you know, my parents and preachers obviously are the fun police. You know, if it's fun, don't do it. So I'm just thinking, I'm going to keep trying it. If I can prove magic works, this will be the coolest thing in the world. Now, if I prove it's false, doesn't work, I'm not going to waste my time with it. So I was thinking, what could I do as a magic spell that would prove that it works? And I thought, you know, when I play Dungeons and Dragons every weekend, I play with the older kids at my church and school, and we always do campaigns for money first so we can afford to do the campaign. So it's always for gold or jewelry or, you know, something like that, and precious stones. And so I decided I'm going to do spell for money. And I did a spell for money. Next day I went out and I found a can of tennis balls with $5 in it. And I thought, all right, this is pretty cool. But somebody had to find this. You know, it was at the tennis courts. Somebody just probably put it down on the ground, forgot about it, drove off. And so the next weekend I did it again. And I found a $10 bill on the side of the road. All right, 8 days, $15. This is 1976. Yep. So back then, comic books were 15 to 20 cents. Candy bars were 15 to 20 cents. And penny candy was a penny. And for $5, if my dad paid the tax, I could get 500 pieces of candy. So, to put that in perspective for now, that same piece of candy that I used to pay 1 cent for, they now charge like 50 cents for, which is insane. To put that even more in perspective, when my dad was a kid, he used to get 10 pieces of candy for a penny. But let that soak in. So that's pretty crazy. So also at the same time as this is going on, there's this game at school that just came in. I'm in the 5th grade. First day of the 5th grade, this kid walks up to me and says, meet me in the bathroom at the first break. Now, we didn't have children beware, or there was no internet to tell you, safety protocols. Nobody told us if somebody says, meet me in the bathroom, don't go. Didn't know anything like that. So I went in the bathroom. It's 10:20 a.m. And here's like 50 kids. It's a brand new school, brand new building, huge bathrooms. And they've got a new system for the lights. You got a key that you had to put in and turn off the lights or turn them back on. And some genius kid figured out if you unfold the paper clip and stick it in there, you can turn the lights on and off. It was like, okay. So he said, okay, so we're going to turn out the lights and chant a phrase a certain number of times. And if you do it right, the spirit of a burn victim will show up in the mirror. Nobody believes that, but, okay, whatever. So it turns out it's not a game, it's a spell. And it's not the spirit of a burn victim, it's a demon. But we don't know anything like that. We're 10 years old. And the kid turns out the lights. Some of the kids are apprehensive because we're 10 years old. They're still not used to being in the dark. And we chant this phrase. And suddenly the mirror lights up and this scary face appears. And 49 kids run screaming out of the bathroom. One child, he's an idiot. I can say that about him because it's me. Stayed in the bathroom thinking, this is the coolest thing ever. I chanted the phrase. I saw the face. I made this appear. Now, I don't know who he is, but he looks like the spirit of a burn victim because his skin is super dark. Looks like maybe it was charred in a fire. And the tops of his lips are melted down and they're connected to the bottom part of his lips. And he's got really sharp teeth. He's got a snarl on his face, but if you died in a fire, you might look like that too. So, I'm not thinking it's a scary face. I'm thinking, oh, this poor person. And remember too, at 10 years old, you're not the sharpest marble. This guy is not, you haven't tapped into some castle in Ireland 3,000 miles away. You haven't even tapped into the room behind the mirror. If you're seeing the demon in the mirror, he's standing next to you. And I'm like, I'm not smart enough to figure that one out. I'm just thinking, I've got the spirit of a burn victim in the mirror.
Yeah.
Not at all considering that if it's a mirror, if he's in the mirror, he's reflecting. That means he's standing next to you reflecting. So, but they sent notes home eventually saying that if we were caught playing this game at school, because kids were starting to get badly hurt, that we'd be suspended for 3 days.
You said kids were starting to get hurt?
And I had to take panic to get out of the bathroom.
Okay.
And kids got trampled. We had a kid got a broken arm, another kid got a broken leg. Like having 50 kids run over them. So I had to take this note to my dad in the den. And my dad usually just took the note, snatched it out of my hand, signed it, threw it back at me, never read it. Today was my lucky day. Today he decided he'd read the note. And my dad had been a sniper in the U.S. Marines. And he looked at the note, read it, made this scowl, and asked me in his usual loving tone, have you been playing this game? And being terrified of my dad as I was, I told him 100% the truth. I looked him in the eye and said, no. So that I wouldn't spend a lovely 3 days with my dad, I started playing the game at home.
Oh, no.
Where could the danger be in that? So I have a bathroom in my bedroom. So I'm going in there every day. Now, when I did it at school, I did it once a day. Now that I'm doing it at home, I wake up in the morning, I play the game. I use the bathroom, I play the game. I brush my teeth, I play the game. I play it 10 times before breakfast. After breakfast, I go back in, I brush my teeth again, I play the game. I play it 2 or 3 more times before I leave for school. When I get home from school, my parents aren't there. And until I get supper, I'm playing that game. So I'm playing it 25 to 50 times a day. Every time I play it, that face shows up. Now keep in mind that I'm a fat little nerdy kid. So all my friends are nerds like me. If we're not playing D&D, for example, or we're not just laying around reading comic books, I'm playing this game. So to me, this person in the mirror, although I don't know him personally, is like my friend because he keeps showing up. And I've never had a conversation with him. I tell him goodbye when I turn out the lights. I sometimes tell him hello when he shows up. He never says anything back. I thought maybe he can't hear me because he's in the mirror and I'm out here. It never once occurred to me that he was standing right beside me. And I'm happy playing the game. I like doing it. I also, one day I did the magic spell for money, and in the middle of it, I was doing it in the bathroom at home, and I did the Bloody Mary chant, and then the face shows up, and I show it that I'm doing a spell for money. And I don't know if this guy is anywhere other than the mirror, and I don't know what exactly I'm doing, but maybe this is a power I can harness. Maybe I can make something happen with this. Maybe he can make something happen. So magic spell for money, do the Bloody Mary chant, finish the magic spell for money. Next day I went out to play. Next day, every time I did magic, it was a Friday night. Next day it'd be Saturday, I'm out playing. And I'm in this really large unpaved parking lot, and something shiny catches my eye. So I run off to see what that is. And when I get there, there's nothing shiny there. But I find what looks like Monopoly money rolled up tight in rubber bands. And I put that in my pocket and go back to playing. Later that night, everybody's taking their bath, everybody's changed clothes, you're all in pajamas. And when I got home, I put it in my dresser. So when I'm getting ready for bed, I turn out the lights, get what I had. I have a little tiny flashlight in there, and I get in my bed, pull the sheet up over my head, put the flashlight on, and I'm shining it on my treasure, and I'm unraveling all the rubber bands. When I finished unraveling everything, it looked like Monopoly money because I'd never seen a $100 bill. And then when I unraveled everything, I had 10 $100 bills. Wow. So it's 1976. I'm worth $1,000. I realized at this point that I could buy 100,000 pieces of candy, and which would fill my house. And this is before we had Lotto, before we had Powerball, before we had Mega Millions. There was nothing like that back then. But now I've won $1,000. I'd be worth about $7,000 now. So imagine what you could do with $7,000 right now.
Yeah.
And I just had it just with a magic spell. I had $1,000, and I knew I've got my walk-in closet is bigger than a lot of my friends' bedrooms. So, it's full of clothes. My parents even stored clothes in there, and shoes and boots and a lot of winter clothes. Or why we needed winter clothes. We lived in Florida, but it was an amazing walk-in closet that was now going to be filled with my stuff that I buy and put in there. And my parents will never know. My mom's not going to know that she didn't buy me this leather jacket. She might have. She buys me so much stuff, or shoes and boots that I like. The only stuff that I couldn't buy something that was blatantly something she would not have bought me. I can't buy like urban clothes. I can't buy Harley Davidson anything. because they know they didn't buy me anything like that. But there's tons of other stuff that I can get, and my parents never know. You know, I wear a shirt out of the house, and my dad's like, "Where'd you get that?" Goodwill. Okay. Or mom got it for me from Goodwill. But if my mom really did get it, I would say that. But if I bought it myself, I would tell my dad that I bought it. You know, but usually I would say I bought stuff at Goodwill, because they know back then, you know, you buy a shirt at Goodwill, it was like a nickel. A pair of pants was a dime. A pair of shoes was maybe a quarter. You know, it was like everything was, it was almost like it was just shy of being free.
Mm-hmm.
So I know now, though, that beyond a shadow of a doubt that magic is real.
Yeah.
I can do this every day. You realize that if I did this every day for a year, I could buy a Lamborghini, which was the car I wanted, a Lamborghini Countach. Or if I did it every day for almost 3 years, I'd be a millionaire. You know, and I thought, I'm a genius. No one knows this works but me. Everyone in school is just blindly walking through, doing their stuff, doing the stuff they're told to do, not realizing there's a whole new world out there they don't even know exists.
Mm-hmm.
My Baptist preacher doesn't know it's real. My parents don't know it's real. And I have powers that no one else has. I'm a superhero. I am a superhero now at this point. I have the powers to do anything I want to do, and no one else can do this. Now, at 11 years old, I became the victim of a sexual assault at school at the hands of a female teacher. She told me, what happened is, I got a note to go to the bathroom. My teacher didn't want to give it to me, because she says, you had 3 minutes to make it from whatever your class was to here. Why couldn't you go to the bathroom in that time? It's like, because I was at PE, which is on the far side of the school, and you're over here on this side of the school building. And in 30 minutes, I have to come inside, take a shower, change my clothes, and run in here. I don't have time to go to the bathroom. So she asked how many other people had to do that same thing. Well, the whole room, everybody put up their hands. And she said, how many people here went to the bathroom? One girl raised her hand and said, I peed in the shower. And so it was like, you know, we have 49, 50 kids per classroom, and nobody went to the bathroom except her in the shower. So she gave me a note to go down there, told me not to play around, just go use the bathroom, come back. So I go to the bathroom, I open the door, and it's like a horror movie. I open the door, and there's heavy breathing in the bathroom. I look under all the stalls. There's no feet on the floor, but I can hear somebody panting in the bathroom. So there's nobody standing at the urinals. I take a step in, I open a stall door, nobody there. Open a stall door, nobody there. Open a stall door, nobody there. Last stall is the handicap stall, but I've already checked under the stalls. There's no feet. I open the stall door. There's a female teacher sitting on the toilet. Her skirt is hiked up to her waist. She doesn't have any underwear on. And what she has looked like she was wounded somehow. You know, no sex education, no idea what a vagina is and that she has one and what it's for. I have no idea. It just looks like somebody stabbed her and sliced her. Don't know. And then she orders me to come in and latch the door behind me. So I do that. And then she has me come closer to her. She unzips my pants, pulls my pants and underwear down, orally sodomizes me, and then has me lay on the floor, and she gets on top of me. Then when she's done, she tells me that this was my idea. I clearly wanted to do it, that I enjoyed it. She said, that feeling you just got, that means you enjoyed it. And if you tell anybody, you'll be expelled from school. Your parents will kick you out of the house. You'll be arrested and taken to prison. And when you get out, now they made all this sound like it would all happen in the same year. When I got out of prison, I would not be allowed to go to school. I wouldn't be allowed to move back home. I would have to get a job, pay my own rent, pay all my utilities, buy my own groceries, all of that. And I'd have to grow up. But remember, I'm 11 years old. So I'd have to just become an adult at 11 years old. And she made it sound like my life would totally suck. And then she, had me get dressed and kicked me out of the bathroom.
Wow.
And I walked back to the room, and the teacher in there asked me, because I'd been gone for about a half an hour. She asked me if I had fun in the bathroom. And I didn't know if that meant, I know you went down there to pee and you just played around for half an hour, or if that meant she knew that teacher was waiting for me and she wants to know if I had fun with that teacher.
Wow.
And I just said no. And I sat down and didn't say anything. Now, keep in mind that I never peed. I didn't pee. I didn't wash my hands. I didn't do anything. So that's the last class of the day. So now I've got to go home. I'm walking home and I've still got to pee, but I'm scared to go to any bathroom in the school because she might still be there. She might be in a different bathroom. I don't know. So I walk home. On my way home, I peed my pants. When I got home, I put my stuff in the dirty clothes hamper and just hoped my mother didn't say anything to me. She didn't. And then that night, I took the hottest shower I could possibly take. Well, I took a bath, and it was scalding hot. And I'm just trying to get clean. And then there was a while during that time that I thought about taking a bath in pure bleach. I thought about drinking bleach, but I read the label on the back that said maybe fatal if swallowed. I'm not looking to kill myself. I'm just looking to get clean. And I thought bleach would clean me from the inside out. And, I felt less than human. I didn't know really what had happened to me, but I didn't feel deserving of anything. I felt abandoned by God. I felt God didn't love me. And even though my dad gave me hugs at night, I couldn't really feel his love for me. And I couldn't tell anybody what happened. I knew that if I told my dad what would happen to me, he'd kick me out of the house. I'd be arrested. I wouldn't be allowed to go to school. I'd lose all my friends. So I was alone. I just withdrew into myself. The only thing that made me feel like I was somebody was doing magic, because every magic spell I did worked. It may not have worked for exactly what I wanted, but it worked on some level. So I just continued. I just dove further into magic. And then when I was 12 years old, there was a kid that used to play campaigns of D&D with us when I was 10. And he stopped going to school, stopped going to church, stopped playing D&D with us. And we just assumed he moved away. When I was 12 years old, he came back. And he started going to church and going to school and playing D&D with us. And he told us that he didn't move anywhere, that he was homeschooled. And he went to church and home. And he was trained to do something. And we never asked what he was trained to do. But it turns out what he was trained to do was be a satanic recruiter for children. Whoa. And so he told us that there was a group that played D&D that also believes magic is real. Well, I know it's real, so I'm going to go check these guys out. At my house, we had a 26-inch console TV. I don't know how old you are. I'm 59. So a console TV is a pretty fat
I remember
TV.
those. I was born in 80, so I remember them.
So it comes in a giant wooden box. And if this fell on you, it would probably kill you. If you're a small kid. My mom made me take everything off of it every Saturday and polish it. It was a piece of furniture in the house. So, we would have that. But over there, they had a 50-inch projection screen TV. I had an Atari. the original Atari hooked up to a black and white TV in my bedroom. You tell that to kids today and they're like, what? A black and white what? So, but over there they had a Atari hooked up to their 50-inch projection screen, which was very stupid to do back then, but they still did it. And, at my house during the summer, you could have 3 meals a day and a snack if my mom was in a good mood. And that snack is going to be like a carrot stick or an apple or a bowl of grapes or something. But over there, if I wanted pizza, I could have it. I mean, when I lived at home, my entire childhood, I had 5 pizzas, and all of them were bought at the store. But over there, we had Domino's in town at one point. We had actual mom and pop, those Latinos. We had different places, so we could get pizza anytime we wanted, or you could get burgers. I mean, we got McDonald's once in a while at my house, but it was like a rare treat. But over there, if I wanted McDonald's every day, I could do it. They had a pantry that was filled with like 20 or 30 boxes of candy. And I saw that and I took like 3 bars out of it. And they said, oh, you don't have to take 3 bars all at once. Just go over there whenever you want one and take one. I said, what if I'm taking 20? Like, whatever you want, just take them. You don't have to ask. Just go over, open the door, and take it out. No one will say anything to you. There's no such thing as taking too much. I was like, so I could eat an entire box. They're like, if that's what you want to do, and you might make yourself sick if you do that, but you can do it. We don't care. You do whatever you want to do. And then I found out, they told me, I don't know how they knew, but they said, you had something happen to you last year that was terrible. Should have never happened to anybody. But now you can get your power back. Now you can do that anytime you want. I'm thinking, I'm not sure I want to do that again. And no one can make you do it if you don't want to do it. But no one can tell you no if you want to do it. And they told me that they showed me movies that I couldn't watch at my house. Like, at my house, you can watch a G-rated movie, so a lot of Disney, or a PG-rated movie if it had been vetted by my dad first. And that was it. And as far as I knew, in my world, there was nothing above PG. Right. And then they showed me an R-rated movie. I had no idea these movies existed. And then they showed me an X-rated movie.
Wow.
And then they showed me a triple X-rated movie. And when they're doing this, there's a room full of kids. We're all watching this. And then they showed me a triple X-rated movie with kids in it my age. Now, imagine this. So you're going to go see a Harrison Ford movie at the theater. And Harrison Ford is going to sit next to you in the theater and describe the scenes to you, the backstory behind every scene. Now, he might let you just silently, if you want to just enjoy the movie, that's fine. But Harrison Ford is there to talk to you in case you want to ask him, did you really do that stunt or is that a stunt double? Whatever you want to ask him, he's right there. So you get to sit there with the actor from the movie talking to you. So they put in a triple X porn with kids in it, and those kids are sitting all around me on the couch.
Wow.
I'm sitting in the room with the movie stars that I'm watching. This is my mentality. Okay, yes, I'm seeing a pretty girl naked, and she's sitting right there, and she's got a smile on her face, and she's telling me, watch me, see what you think. Tell me what you think of what I'm doing. Do you like that? Do you like this? Do you like that act? What do you think of this? And, you're 12 years old. I've got hormones that have kicked in. I'm watching what's going on, and it's making me excited in many ways. And they asked me if I'd like to star in movies like that. And I was like, I don't know what to do. They're like, oh, that's fine. We have somebody that can train you. And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, we'll make you a movie star. It's like, here, let's check out some of the fan mail we get. And so they brought out like a letter from Japan. And it was written on like, when I went to school, when I was in first grade, the paper was wider than it was tall, and had fat lines, and you wrote with a really fat pencil. Well, this had really fat lines, and it was like, wider than it was tall, and it was written in crayon, and it looked like a child had written into us. Now, in reality, this would not have been a child. This porn was very expensive. A child couldn't have afforded it, but it had to have been an adult. And there would have to be pedophiles watching this and, doing whatever they're doing while they watch the video. But we didn't know the word pedophile.
Yeah.
We didn't know that there were perverts in the world. And we didn't know that it's not children writing into us. Because they're misspelling words on purpose, I think. And they're writing in crayon. So it's obviously a child. And then it would say something like age 11, down at the bottom of it. Or, whoever, it could be a male or female name, but they would always write like age 7, age 11, age 12. Nobody was over 15. And so and they pull out multiple letters. It'd be like one from Japan, one from Germany. And you'd see on the envelope where it came from. So you'd see that it's coming from Germany, it's coming from Japan, it's coming from France. There's all these places, and they'd have hundreds of these letters. And so I wanted to be famous, and I wanted to fit in, and they're offering me a chance to fit in and be famous and do these things with all these girls that are all around me. And so I was like, where do I have to go? And so they handed me an envelope. It was sealed. And they asked me if I knew a certain family. And I said, yeah, I know them. It's 3 sisters and a brother. And it's about a couple of blocks from my house. And I know the woman. They don't have a dad that lives there. And so they told me to go there, ring the doorbell, hand them this envelope. So I did that. And the oldest girl answered the door, took the envelope from me. He invited me inside. They opened the envelope up. She read it, and then she passed it on to other 2 sisters. And then they invited me inside, and their sisters were 8, 11, and 14. So I was with the 8-year-old first, and she trained me for a couple of weeks. And then I graduated to the 11-year-old. And then I was in bed with the 11-year-old, and I heard the back door open up, and my heart stopped, because that's how her mom comes home. She always parks in the back and comes in the back door, and I'm terrified. Now, this woman is going to catch me, and I'm going to die. And she knocks on the door, and her daughter says, yeah, Mom. And the door opens up, and I'm scared to death. I can't move. I'm partially under a sheet, but I'm clearly naked. And her daughter's naked. And she asked, how's he doing? And she's like, he's doing great, Mom. He learned a lot with, the first sister, and he's going to graduate from me in a couple of days. And then he'll go on to the oldest sister, and he's not going to have to do much with her. He knows pretty much what he's doing at this point. And she asked me if I wanted to stay for supper. And I said, you'd have to ask my dad. So she goes over and she calls my dad. And I'm thinking at any point she's going to say, by the way, I just walked in on your son naked with my 11-year-old in case you'd like to kill him instead of me. But she never says anything like that. She just talks to my dad and comes back and says, your dad says you can stay till after supper. And then I told him we were going to watch a little TV for about an hour. And he said that was fine and just send you home when you're done. I was like, okay. And she just, tells me to have fun and closes the door. So I asked the girl, I said, so your mom knows that we're doing this? She goes, oh yeah, they had to clear it with her first, before we said, yes, we do this. Apparently her mom got started in kiddie porn when she was 3 years old. She had multiple abortions, and then at some point she decided she wanted to keep her children. So she had 3 daughters and a son. And the son was now like 15 or 16 or around that, and wasn't interested in being in porn anymore. So he stopped doing it. The oldest daughter, I think, ran away from home when she was 14, and they didn't see her again. You know, I went from the 11-year-old to the 14-year-old, and I was with her a very short amount of time. And then she was like, you don't need help anymore. You know what you're doing. You know everything. So then I went back to the group, and they started shooting me there. We had multiple places to shoot, though. Not all of them in the same town. But, you know, then I would appear on video, and we made things like we had still photos. We had loops, and a loop is 7 minutes. We had vids, and vids are 30 minutes, roughly. And we had movies, and those were like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then we had compilation tapes, which would be like 4 to 6 hours. They were very expensive. And they would be like one type of sex for like 4 to 6 hours. And clearly these are perverts buying these, but that never occurred to me when I was a kid. And I'm shooting all these, and I'm like, people would write in, and they'd say they'd want the nerdy kid, because in a lot of the movies I had nerd glasses that I would wear, that they had me wear as a prop, or they wanted to see the dark kid. You know, all the kids in this thing are white except me, so they're saying they wanted the darker kid. My name was Tommy in the films, so they wanted Tommy to perform with a little bit, or with mosquito bites, or whatever the name was on the screen of who they saw. You know, that's who they wanted, you know, in the videos. So then we would have future movies where we would act out whatever they're wanting to see with me, with whoever they're wanting me to be with. And I'm thinking, I'm the luckiest kid in the world. I mean, I know at school on Monday, all the boys that come back from the weekend talk about sex they had on the weekend. You know they weren't having sex. You know they were just making up lies to make themselves look bigger and badder than what they were. But I was really having sex on the weekend. But I knew better than to say anything to anybody, because what if somebody believed me and told my dad? Or believed me and called the cops? I don't want anything to happen. Now, speaking of cops, we were in a town called South Bay. It was very close to where I lived, about 20 miles away. And we were in a building where we're going to be shooting some porn, but I'm not shooting anything that day. I'm just a runner or a gopher that day. So we have all of our film equipment, sound equipment, lighting equipment is in this one room. And they keep sending me there and telling me what they need. There's also a girl in the room that's laying on a cot naked. She's black, I guess, so she's really dark, and she doesn't speak English. Like, I came into the room and I spoke to her, and she spoke to me in a foreign language. I knew it wasn't Spanish because my mom was Hispanic and she wasn't Spanish. So I don't have any idea what she said, but I'm running out of the room. Every time I'm running in there, grabbing what they want, running back out. And there's a line of men that goes all the way to the door that are having sex with this little girl. And it's one man after another. Eventually, a woman comes in, ties a tourniquet on her arm, and gives her a shot, which, you know, to me is just medicine of some kind. And so I watch that, and then I grab some stuff and run out. And then a little later, I came in the room to grab something, and her eyes are rolled back in her head. She's drooling, and she looks like she might be dying or dead. And these men are still coming in there to have sex with her. I run out and I say, what's going on? So they come in the room, they stop the line of men, they come in, they check her, she's died. They then announce this to the men that are lined up. There's still a few left. And they said, well, we already paid. Can we still have sex with her? Like, oh yeah, you can still keep going. So she had sex with like another 10 or 12 men after she was dead. Then A police car shows up. This is about 3 hours later. So there's no men humping a dead corpse now. But the cop shows up, and I run and I get somebody, and I said, there's a cop outside. I don't know why. And so they came to the door, opened it up, let this cop inside. He walks to the room, and there's this little throw rug on the floor. So he grabs the body, he checks it for a pulse, doesn't find anything, throws her into the throw rug and wraps her up in it, throws it over his shoulder, and tells him, I'll get rid of the body. And he said, I'll get rid of her. And he walked out, put it in his car, and drove away. So, you know, I'm thinking, all right, so we have the cops with us, which was really, really bizarre. But, you know, okay, that's happening. And then also when I was 12 years old, this older kid ran up to me one day and he goes, you know you're in a satanic coven, right? And I burst out laughing and he ran off. And after about 2 weeks, though, I was at a sleepover one night and I saw these people in black robes and asked them what they were doing, and they just got up and walked away. So I was like, oh, that's kind of suspicious. And then, you know, after about 2 weeks, I was thinking, okay, now, we were taught in the Baptist church that Jesus defeated Satan 2,000 years ago, so he's no threat now. And that Satan is afraid of the Baptist church. So if these things are true, then Satan's afraid of me. That's why he gives me everything I want. Satan is not the bad guy. My parents and my Baptist preacher are the no boys. Anything I want to do, the answer is no. Dad, there's a new movie coming out on Friday. Can I go see it? No. Dad, the Moody Blues are coming to town. Can I go see them? No. After a while, you just, Dad, can I? No. Dad, no. After a while, you just look at my dad. No. But anything I wanted to do over there, you know, we're going to go see a new movie on Saturday, and then Saturday night, we're going to go see the Moody Blues play. You know, anything I wanted to do was yes. No matter how it was and what it was, if it was a little dangerous, we could still do it. I wanted to go on an airboat ride so bad. My dad would never take me because it was too dangerous. I went on multiple airboat rides. They were so much fun. Every last one of them. There's a giant cage that's too small for you to stick your hand or foot or face into the blade. So you're not in danger there. As long as you don't stop in an alligator infested area, they're not going to climb into the boat either. So, you know, everything seemed okay. You know, it didn't seem to be dangerous, and it was a lot of fun. So everything I want to do, the answer is yes. You know, so, but 2 weeks into it, I was like, and this was not 2 weeks into my Satanism, but 2 weeks into that kid telling me it's a satanic coven. I went to somebody I trusted, and I said, hey, you're going to laugh. I heard this was a satanic coven. Crazy, right? And I expected him to laugh, pat me on the back, and tell me to go play. But instead, he said, it is. And my heart sunk into my stomach, and I stammered out, am I a member yet? No. Would you like to be? Okay. Now, people, when I talk at conferences, they're like, didn't you know right from wrong? Well, no. The lines were kind of blurred. You know, I'm having sex all the time, anytime I want. I see a pretty girl, I go up and ask her, hey, let's do this. And she's like, okay. Sometimes we go back in the bedroom, sometimes we do it in front of everybody. You know, I'm addicted to porn. I'm addicted to sex. I'm addicted to masturbation. You got to be 18 to buy porn. I'm 12. If I quit this coven, I'm going to stop being in my movies. I'm going to stop being famous. I'm going to stop having sex, at least on the weekend, but sometimes every day. I'm smoking cigars, cigarettes, pipes, bongs. I'm taking all kinds of drugs. You gotta be 19 to smoke or to buy tobacco. I also don't know how to buy drugs. I get all my drugs here for free.
Right.
And I'm drinking. My mom would give me, my parents had an ice cream shop. So we had these cups of anywhere from 10 ounces up to 40 something ounces, 48 ounces. So my mom would give me like a 24-ounce cup, fill it with OJ. I'd walk to school. When it was about halfway done, I would pass a friend's house and get some vodka in there.
Wow.
Then I'd go to school with a 24-ounce cup, half and half, with a lid on it and a straw.
Wow.
I'm drunk at school. But teachers don't know that because I'm drunk every day at school. So I look normal. Now I might play PE later and throw up, but I'm a fat, nerdy kid, of course. Of course I'm going to throw up when I play PE. So it wasn't shocking. Nobody ever checked my vomit to see, hey, wait, that's vodka. You know, and so I'm doing all this, but you got to be 21 to buy booze. I'm still 12. Okay, if I want to join, what do I have to do? They said there's 13 steps to joining a satanic coven, and you've done almost all of them already. All you have left to do, you have to slice your left thumb and bleed onto a document, and you have to sign it in 3 places in your own blood. The blood of Jesus washes away all sin, but not mine. And I sign my name to that. Jesus died for everyone, but not me. And I sign my name to that. And on the final page of a 5-page document, I agreed to sell my soul to the devil.
Oh, wow.
Now, when I'm at my talks, I stop my talk and I ask, how many people here believe you can sell your soul to the devil? So let me ask you, do you believe you can sell your soul to the devil?
I personally don't believe it's yours to sell, but that's my own opinion.
Well, you are correct. You cannot sell what you do not own. Jesus died for you. God paid the ultimate price for your soul. You don't own it. You can't loan it. You can't lease it. And you certainly cannot sell it. You might have heard that Satan is a liar.
Yeah.
I am here to confirm. If Satan says good morning, get a second opinion.
Right.
But again, not the sharpest marble in the bag. So I agreed. All the things in that document I said yes to, and I signed it away in blood, and I believed I was damned. But, I mean, I'm 12 years old. Am I going to die when I'm like 100? Well, I've got 90 years to change my mind. I've got 90 years to try and break that contract. The downside to that mentality is that you don't know when you're going to die. You know, I saw Final Destination. That girl cussed out her friend, stepped off the curb, and got hit by a bus.
Yeah.
That's the best death in the movie, I thought.
Yeah.
Just steps off the curb, bam. And it was like, whoa. So have you seen Final Destination 6?
Yes. Yeah.
That was a fun one. So I just saw it this weekend. So, you know, not knowing when I'm going to die and figuring that I've got 90 years to change my mind, you know, I agreed to all this stuff. So I come into a room, this is at a farmhouse, pretty much out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm in a white robe, signifies you're losing your innocence. And they baptized me full submersion in a demon's head vat that's filled with human blood, pig's blood, and human urine.
Oh.
Full submersion. You come up, you go into another room and you take a shower. And you change out of the white robe, you put on a black robe, and you raise the cowl up, signifying you've been baptized into a world of darkness. You come into a room and you sit in a wooden chair, and they hand you a wheel. It's about 13 inches across, and it has a crucifix in it. You spin the crucifix upside down, signifying human sacrifice, and then you grab the arms and break them downward, denouncing Christ. What you're left with looks like a peace sign. They read the document you signed previous, and then they intertwine it with this document. And now there's a celebration that you're now a Satanist. But the reality is, you're now celebrating that one day you're going to die and go to hell. And at this point, people are given, the black robe you come out in is not your final black robe. That black robe is just black. The final black robe is a black robe that has a cowl on it, and it has a red inverted pentagram on it. But that also wasn't the robe I wanted. There's a red robe that has a black inverted pentagram on it. And that's the robe of the mage. And the mage is the official magic practitioner of the coven. Now, if you were a mage and you were 7 years old, which there was one, if the 7-year-old speaks just gibberish and nonsense out of his mouth. Whatever he says, it's like the dumbest stuff you could possibly say. Do you know what I saw on Barney today? Now, we didn't have Barney back then. It's just I watched Gilligan's Island on the weekend. This is the episode. And then he tells some stupid stuff that Gilligan did. But when he became the mage, everything out of his mouth was wisdom. Everybody listened to it. He could say anything. When he said it before he was the mage, people would be like, go play. That's nonsense. Go watch TV. But now that he's the mage, everybody listens, everybody obeys, and I wanted that power. I wanted whatever I said to matter, to be important. Even though I might also be talking about Gilligan's Island, I want it to be important when it comes out of my mouth. And when I became the mage, it became so. Now I got to do magic spells. You do the official magic of the coven. And I love magic. Magic was so much fun to me. I couldn't understand why people didn't do magic. Like, you could accomplish so much stuff by doing that instead of working hard for it. Just do a magic spell. When you want a new car, don't work for 10 years to be able to afford to buy a new car. Do a magic spell a couple of times. Boom, look, you've got the money for the car. So I'm doing that. I officially joined my Satanic coven when I was 13. And I'm the mage. And I'm having a great time. When I was 14, they told me that I was going to participate in a sex orgy, which was not any big deal because I did those all the time. But it's going to be me and all the boys that are 12 to 15 years old. And we're going to have sex with a 19-year-old girl. And the purpose was to make her pregnant. And then about 9 months later, she's going to have an abortion. And I was like, cool. And they said I was going to be participating in the abortion. I was like, cool. And then I went home to look up what abortion meant because I didn't know. Now, what I did know about the word abortion is that it was a dirty word because my mom one day whispered it to my dad. And if she's whispering it, it's got to be dirty. But my dictionary was so old, it didn't have the word abortion in it. So I went to the library and I found 2 books on abortion, and both were like 2 inches thick. Now, I'm making it through school on Cliff Notes. I am not reading 2 inches to find out one word's definition. So I went back to a coven member that I liked and trusted, and I said, hey, I heard that I've got to participate in a sex orgy. He goes, yeah, that'll be fun. I was like, yeah, and she's pretty. But they said I've got to do an abortion almost 9 months from now. I don't know what that means. He goes, oh, you're killing a baby in the womb. And my jaw dropped. I was like, is that legal? He goes, oh, yeah, in the womb legal, out of the womb murder. Okay. So they gave me a scalpel, and they told me to practice with an apple or an orange or a ball of Play-Doh. But then I was also told it's not a real baby. It's just a clump of cells or some tissue. Most likely what's going to happen is that they'll stick a vacuum tube in her and just suck the baby out. It'll just be like a little embryo. It's not a baby. But don't worry about it. You're not going to see anything for real. So that's what I expected for 9 months. When the event took place, we have a group of women, nude, kneeling on the floor, chanting our bodies ourselves. We have a group of men at the far end of this farmhouse praying to Satan to keep police and bad people away from us. But again, I'm thinking, why are they trying to keep the police away if we have the police in our back pocket? And then we've got a separate room, separate from the entire group, and it's a bunch of little kids. And the little kids have to stay up as late as they can. And the one that stays up the longest gets like a free video game console. And you're trying to stay up till 3 a.m., which is what time our spell is taking place, which midnight is the witching hour and 3 a.m. is the devil's hour. Do you have any idea why it's named that?
Why is that?
It's named the devil's hour because Satan cannot create anything new and original. He can only mock God.
Mm-hmm.
3 p.m. is divine mercy hour. That's the hour Jesus died. So 3 p.m. is known as divine mercy hour. 3 a.m. is the devil's hour. So at 3 a.m., we have 13 high priests and priestesses around this table. The woman is laying on the birthing bed. There's an abortion doctor, an abortion nurse, and full abortion equipment there. Again, remember, I'm not expecting to see a real baby. I've been told it's a lump of cells or some tissue, and they're going to stick this vacuum tube in her and suck this little embryo out. I don't know what an embryo is. It's like a little tiny baby or something. But they said, not a baby. You're not going to see anything. So they do a late-term abortion. It's about 3 months to me turning 15. And they deliver the baby breech. So the head is still inside the woman. The body is outside the woman. It's a little girl. And I'm looking at this like, this is a baby. If you delivered this, it would be fine. And then they perform a late-term abortion, which I'll spare your listeners into what that is. But if you were there in person, it'd be the grossest thing you've ever seen. And then they dismember the body and throw it out to the women on the floor, cannibalize it. And then we have a giant sex orgy. And then they sneak me home. I have my bedroom is that there's like a building right next to another building. And there's like maybe 1.5 feet between them. So I would get home, go into that little alleyway, I have these large jalousie windows, and the screen just pops out. So I would open the bottom window, pop the screen out, climb inside, close the window, put the screen back in place. My parents would never know that I wasn't in there the whole night. And at that time, my brother was in my same room. My brother's special needs. The plus thing about my brother is that he's not a tattletale. He's not a narc. If he saw me do something like that, he would never tell unless I said, don't tell mom and dad you saw me do this.
Yeah.
Then he would tell. That'd be the first thing out of his mouth. Mom, I saw Zachary climb through the window this morning. I learned that when I was 3 years old, not to do anything and tell him not to say it, because he'll tell on me. But I also learned if I didn't say that, he wouldn't tell it. He wouldn't say anything. So I could climb in, act like I've been there the whole night. Now, I might be really tired when my dad wakes me up. I'm exhausted from the night before. He's like, why are you so tired? I had a hard time falling asleep. Next time, wake me up. I'll make you some warm milk or something. Okay. So not suspicious at all that I had not been home the entire night. Never checks on us during the night. Clearly, we get up during the night to go to the bathroom, so clearly we're home. So, I'm going through, I'm getting ready to graduate high school, and I want to go find a Satanic coven when I graduate. But, I mean, it's not like they're going to advertise it in the town square.
Yeah.
We don't have the internet back then. Back then, the ways you could find a Satanic coven, if you went to like an adult bookstore and you got a swingers magazine, now not a professional grade swingers magazine, like a mom and pop swingers magazine. In the back of it are a bunch of ads, and one of the ads would be for a Satanic coven. But I don't know if you've ever been to one of those places, but they're skeezy. Usually people sitting out in their car masturbating to whatever porn they just. And if you got too close to the car, you'd see everything. It's like, and then the bad part isn't that you'll see everything; it's that everybody sees you.
All right.
So I don't want to be seen by the people in the parking lot. I also don't want to be seen by the people inside the store. What if I open that door and my Baptist preacher's coming out the door? I'm not thinking, aha, I caught you. I'm thinking, aha, he caught me. So I don't want to go to the porn store. But I don't know where else we advertise. But when I started to school, I found it because they advertised it in the town square. They had the Baptist and the Catholic Student Union, and the Democrat and the Republican Student Union, and the Satanic and the Wiccan Student Union. I was like, whoa. Wow. So I went to that a couple of times. And this is a bunch of kids away from home for the first time with no adult supervision. And they think that Satan is all about getting drunk, getting high, having sex. I've been doing that since I was 12. I don't need a Satanic coven for that anymore. And they make up magic spells on the spot. I'm going to slam this beer in one gulp. I'm going to twirl it above my head 3 times and throw it across the room. And if it lands in the garbage can, I'm going to get a brand new truck tomorrow.
Wow.
That's not a magic spell. And then our meetings would be on Saturday. Guess what they did on Sunday? They went to church. Not to break up the church. They went to church because this is just a clubhouse meeting.
Yeah.
And Sunday we had to get sanctified so we can do all this regular stuff all during the week. Saturday, I'm going to get drunk and smoke some weed and have sex again, and then go to church on Sunday and get sanctified again, start over.
Yeah.
This isn't what I'm looking for. This is not a real Satanic coven. So I called my first group back and I was like, hey, during the summer, I read a book, and I just read it for entertainment purposes. But in the book, they talked about a place called Bohemian Grove. I don't know if it's real or not. It's supposed to be in California. And they talked about a group called the Illuminati. Again, never heard of them, don't know what that is. And they talked about a Satanic coven that was gigantic. Where can I find them? Who is that? And they said, that's the World Church of Satan, or Satan's World Church. 2 different names, same coven. We give you your phone number. You got to tell them your real name, because when you get there, they're going to look at your ID. It's got to match. If it doesn't match, they won't let you in the door. I was like, okay, I wouldn't have even thought of giving a fake name. So, and they said, just wait for their phone call and then just do whatever it is they tell you to do. Okay. So I call this number, and it's just an answering machine. And so I leave my name and my phone number and tell them, they said, say that you came from us. So, I name drop that, and I waited a few days, and I got this call. And the guy tells me to bring my license. You drive there, but you're going to have to park about 2 miles away. It's going to be a giant party. And it's like in a building about the size of a super Walmart. Well, I don't even know if we had super Walmart back then. I know we had Walmart, But, he's like, come there and come in and, you'll see if this is what you want to do. I was like, all right. So I drive there, I find the building, and he's right, I can't park nearby. And so I drive about 2 miles away, and there's parking lots all the way. And there's a guy there in a guard uniform. He signals to me that I can pull in there. So I pull in and I park. And he goes, all right, now you just got to hoof it down there. And I was like, I can't get a ride from anybody? No. Okay. And he goes, but your car is safe. There's security in all the parking lots. I was like, okay, fine. So I walk 2 miles. I come into this warehouse. There's a door there. There's no doorbell. I knock on the door. This guy opens the door, asks for my ID, and then he checks his clipboard. Remember, we didn't have tablets or laptops or computers of any sort back then. He checks the clipboard, and he finds my name, checks me off, has me come inside, gives me my ID back. You go around this big, heavy, dark curtain. And when you move that out of the way, that big, dark curtain is sound muffling because it's like a giant party inside. There's tables filled with like snacks, like chips and crackers and soda. Then there's other tables that actually have pizza and other tables that have big sandwiches and stuff on it. There's a table that has soda from the first table. There's another table that's just pure soda and salsa water or bottles of water. Then there's another table that has beer. There's another table with hard liquor. There's another table that has like weed and mushrooms. There's another table that has cocaine and heroin. Whatever your choice, whatever your flavor is, that's what they got. Then as I go further in, there's recliners and regular chairs and tables and couches where a lot of people are sitting and talking. There's a dance floor with a DJ. There's a band playing further in the building. In the very back of the building, in the far right corner, is 5 or 6 giant beds, bigger than king-size beds. They're all pushed together, and there's a bunch of naked people, men and women, on these beds having sex. And they invite me to join. Now, this would have been like 1984. The AIDS epidemic was in full bloom. I am not playing Russian roulette tonight. So I walked away. And I sat down in a recliner. There's a bunch of people all around me. So I start talking to some guy. And we're just having a regular conversation, but about Satanism and about the coven he belonged to and the coven I came from. And this guy walks past us. Now let's go back to me being about 13 years old at a sleepover. And one night I got up to go to the bathroom and get a drink of water. So I'm walking through the house. I see this guy wearing a tuxedo, got a top hat on, he's carrying a wand, and he's got corpse paint on his face. But to me at 13, he looked like a member of KISS wearing a tuxedo. And I thought, that is the coolest look ever. And he sees me and he winks at me. And he walks into the kitchen. I went to the bathroom. I got my drink of water. And then I'm thinking, I should go into the kitchen and see who that is. But I don't. I just go back to bed, go to sleep. And then the next day I asked them, hey, I was in the house this morning and I went to the bathroom, got a drink of water, and I saw this guy. He looked like a member of KISS wearing a tuxedo. Who was that? They said, oh, you dreamed that. That didn't really happen. Oh, okay. So my coven's going to lie to me now. Let's store that in the back of my head, and one day I'm going to find out. So one day happened when I was 18. I'm at this party, and I see this guy. Now, it's not the same guy, but it's the same costume. Tuxedo, top hat, wand, corpse paint on his face. If you want to know what that looks like, go to the video, Pink Like a Pill official video. And the guy appears in her video 4 times. The 3rd and 4th time, he's doing a spell. Now, somebody sent me, because there's another picture of Pink standing on the red carpet with this guy, the High Wizard. And it's a girl. Now, there is a girl, female High Wizard. So she's standing on the red carpet with this High Wizard. And then somebody else sent me a group of photos. It's like 5 or 6 photos. Honey, how many was it? Oh, close to 10 photos. And Pink and the High Wizard are at a VH1 award show. And so it's like she knows the High Wizard. The High Wizard is with her in the video and on the red carpet and at this VH1 music awards show. So I see this guy walking past me, and the guy that was sitting next to me, I grabbed him and I was like, who is that? What is that? How can I do that? And he goes, well, who ran your coven? I said, we're a huge coven. We had like 110 to 150 members at any given time. We had 13 high priests and priestesses, and the mages do the official magic. He goes, okay. Well, we have 1.1 million members worldwide, and we're run by a CEO and a board of directors, and High Wizards do our official magic. That was a High Wizard. And I was like, how can I do that? He says, all I know is that you have to get Satan's attention. And if you get Satan's attention, you can be the High Wizard. Okay, now we're going somewhere. Because I know abortion is a satanic sacrifice. And abortion gets his attention. You want something and you can't figure out how to get it, you go to a satanic coven and you pay them a certain amount of money, which is usually lots. And then you ask them for a hex. And in a hex, an abortion comes with it. Now, if you're going to do a spell in Satanism, a very basic spell, an easy spell, would be like the evil eye, putting the evil eye curse on somebody. But in reality, that's like kicking someone in the shins. The next level up of a curse is equivalent to poking them in the eye. The next level up of a curse is punching them in the gut. Now, if you do something a little more heinous than that, you're kicking somebody in the balls. But each level of curse takes the attack up a notch. Putting a hex on somebody and doing an abortion is dropping an atomic bomb on them. Whatever you're trying to do, you're going to get. It's not going to be a question of, is that going to happen? It's, when is it going to happen?
Okay.
So, and when you're cursing somebody, when people think of curses, they think, well, you've got to have an altar. You've got to have a skull on it. You've got to have at least 3 different colored candles. You've got to have a knife. You've got to have a parchment. You've got to have a quill. You've got to have incense. You've got to have whatever the little ingredients, a certain accoutrement you need for your particular spell. But you're looking at a spell wrong. You're looking at a curse wrong. In a curse, a Satanist or a witch prays to Satan to attach a demon to you. So let's say it's a one-shot deal. The witch goes in, does a spell, and sends one demon to you one time. It's just a one-shot curse. That demon goes to you, but you're in a state of grace. So he can't attach. If you're in a state of grace, he can't attach. If you're not in a state of grace, he latches on. So he goes to you, but you're in a state of grace. So the demon leaves. He doesn't come back a second time. He doesn't even wait 5 minutes, just to check. No, he goes once and he leaves. Let's say it's a tri-curse, though. Demon comes to you today at noon. Oh, you're in a state of grace, so he leaves. But he comes back in 6 weeks. He comes at 4 p.m. You're still in a state of grace. He leaves. And then he comes back in a year. Comes in at midnight, but you're still in a state of grace. So he leaves. He's not going to bother you. He was hired for 3. He's not coming back for 4. And he doesn't check in between the times that you've already set for him to go. Because if you'd have done that, it'd have probably caught you not in a state of grace. All it takes is one sin, and you're not in a state of grace. So, but let's say that a hex is done instead. So when a hex is done, demon goes to you, an abortion was done, goes to you, and you're in a state of grace. So the demon thinks to himself, no problem, I'll wait. And the demon hangs out with you. And let's say you are the greatest Christian in the world. You almost never sin. 3 years from now, you're driving a tractor, and somebody cuts you off. And for some reason, it really pisses you off. And you roll down your window, and you flip them off, and you cuss them out, and you take the Lord's name in vain. And now you're in a state of mortal sin. And the demon goes, aha, and attaches to you. And now you have a demonic curse. But you may not know it for years. You may not realize it until you have children or grandchildren. When you realize that there's a pattern to everybody's life, like every third daughter gets an abortion, every firstborn son commits suicide, and you realize this, that it happened to your kids and it happened to your grandkids. And now you're starting to realize, wait a minute, am I cursed in some way? So if you realize that, you need to get deliverance. If possession has occurred, you need exorcism. But some people never realize it. They go their entire life with a curse. Now, I have a test, and telling people that I have this test, now I'm 800 plus emails behind. I'm 200 plus text messages behind. I'm 200 plus WhatsApp messages behind. And I'm probably 200 phone calls behind. And I had a conference about a month ago. It was a exorcism and deliverance spiritual warfare conference. And my line went out the door for the entire conference. Until when the conference was over, we all got kicked out of the auditorium. And then I still had a line outside for me for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours before I could leave. And then everybody emails me, and I have a test that I can send people. It's just a written document, it's just a Word doc, and it tells you what to do for the test. And then you call me when you're done, and we discuss the results of it. And basically the test is, it's a 30-day fast. And in that 30-day fast, you're not fasting the whole 30 days. You know, don't look at that and go, oh my gosh, I couldn't do that. I'm diabetic. I couldn't fast for that. I wouldn't be able to if that's what it was on the surface. You pick a 4-hour block of time during the day. Now, you do it every day for 30 days. So you cannot eat or drink anything for 4 hours. But you've got the other 20 to do whatever you want to do. Now, you can't do it during regular sleeping hours because that's cheating. Well, let's say you do it from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So you can eat up until 10, and you can eat and drink after 2 p.m. So at 2:01, you can eat and drink, you know, and at 9:59, you can eat and drink. You just have 4 hours that you can't do anything. Then you announce when it starts, I am fasting for the next 4 hours to find out if I have a curse. When the 4 hours is up, you say, I fasted for the last 4 hours to find out if I have a curse. Now, if you don't have a curse, you might have demons all around you all the time, depending on where you are. But if they're not attached to you, they don't care if you're fasting. Doesn't matter to them at all. Even if you are fasting, but you're not fasting for them to find out if they're attached to you, they don't care. But if they are attached to you, they will attack you to make you stop fasting because they don't want you to fast. So if you get attacked, you have to write down what attack you're getting. You know, and some people don't have any idea what that means. And I said, okay, let's say you came home last night and you had a full tank of gas. You have a locking gas cap and only you have the key. But you woke up in the morning and you have a quarter tank of gas. Where did the gas go? You came home last night and your car was fine. You woke up this morning, you got 4 flat tires. Let's say you don't have 4, let's say you got 1, but your tires were fine last night. Suddenly, you've got something in your tire. Now, here's where it gets really special. You saw all your tires last night, and there was nothing sticking in them. You live in a gated community. You live in a nice place. You wake up in the morning, and you have a screwdriver sticking out of your tire that you know was not there yesterday. Suddenly, you have that. You have cameras on your property. Your cameras don't show anything. They just suddenly, there's a screwdriver sticking in your tire. How did that happen if it's not demonic? If a demon didn't do it, how did you get it? So you check all your results. I had a woman that got this test about a month ago, a little more now, I think. And she started the test, and the first day, she injured her leg. Like just a routine injury, but it was so bad, she can't walk now.
Oh, wow.
Then the next day, she had something else happen. I think the third day, she had something else happen. And she called me and emailed me and said, I got to stop. This is what's happening. And I was like, well, you clearly have a curse. You know, I've got other steps to find out how you got cursed. You know, and then there's also steps to end your curse. But, you know, it gives you a 30-day window at seeing are demons really, have they really cursed you?
Wow.
And some people don't get any attack. And it's funny because the people that don't get any attack, before they got no attack, were telling me, I know I'm cursed and I know my uncle did it. I know my dad did it. I know my mom was evil. I know she did it. You know, and they are positive that this person at work is an evil bastard, and they know that he put this curse on them. And then you do the test and you get 0 attack. Now, it's not just 0 attack, it's no attack above what you normally get. So if you're not getting anything out of the ordinary, or any special attack, or if you get none, you're not cursed. And I tell people, your satanic attack, there's actually 3 possibilities. One is that you have a curse, and that's what everybody thinks they have. One is that God is doing these things. He's allowing these things to happen to you to bring you closer to Him. And one is that your life just sucks. Sometimes life just sucks.
Zachary, I apologize. I have to cut you off. We are at the end of our normal time, but I'm going to extend us for another 30 minutes because I know we didn't finish your story yet. So I'd like to take the last 30 minutes to close out your story and maybe get a couple of questions in before we have to wrap up.
Okay. All right. So I had escaped out of Satanism when I was 33 years old. And I was so paranoid about being caught. For 1 year, I lived off the grid. 2 years back on the grid. I had tried to get into Canada like 3 or 4 times. And every time I tried, I got rejected. And I finally, when I got rejected the final time, I ended up in Burlington, Vermont. And I started off as a dishwasher, then a bouncer. There they call him a doorman. And then I went from being a doorman to being head of security. And then I got a job at another place and I was head of security. And then I went to being the nighttime GM. And then I left that and I went to retail. And I was a manager in training at Finish Line. And then I was the GM at Sunglass Hut. And then I was the GM at Piercing Pagoda. So a store in the mall that sells gold and silver and stainless steel and does piercings and is owned by Zales. So I'm doing that. This woman comes in and she's going to buy a pair of gold hoop earrings. And I present her with the pair based on what she said that she lost. And I'm about to close the deal. And she goes, you know, actually, shopping with my daughter. And when I'm done, I'll come back and I'll buy them. I've been a retail manager now for a few years. I know that when a woman says that, what she means is, I'm going to find it cheaper someplace else. But she's got an honest face. I know she's really going to come back. And she does. It's 3 hours later. She comes back. She makes the purchase. And I hand her the receipt. And I say, if you call this 800 number on this receipt and take a survey, you might win $1,000. And she goes, that's great. I've got something for you too. I'm thinking, oh no. She's going to pull out a Jack Chick pamphlet, tell me that I'm sinning, and I drop to my knees and beg for forgiveness. All this stuff I can't do because I sold my soul to the devil when I was 13. But instead, she pulls out this cheap gold-colored piece of tin. It's like this little bitty oval. I mean, it's so cheap that if you held it up to the light, you see the light right through it. And then she says the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Now, I partied with rock stars. I made about 1,200 rock stars when I was a high wizard. And if you give somebody that could write poetry and songs unlimited booze and drugs, they will say some strange stuff. And if you're doubting that statement, turn on a top 40 station when you leave this interview and just listen to any song, classic rock, new rock, whatever you want to listen to. There's a song out right now where a girl is singing about her nunu. Have you heard this song?
I don't think so.
Nunu is a song. Nunu is a song about her vagina. Or Katy Perry, I kissed a girl and I liked it. Who cares? Or how about the song that made Kid Rock a rock god when he first broke out onto the scene?
Yeah.
It was like the #1 song of the year and the video of the year. But the lyrics are the dumbest in the world. Bow to ba, to dang, diggy diggy, up jumps the boogie. Come on. You know, we're idiots for liking that and making it #1. So what this woman said to me was dumber than that. It was crazier than that. She said, the Blessed Mother's calling you into her army. And I thought, Blessed Mother, Isis, Gaia, I have no idea. I was Baptist. Mary gave birth to Jesus. What else should she do? Nothing, because she gave birth to Jesus. We didn't hear about Mary and Joseph and Jesus fleeing to Egypt. And we didn't hear in the Baptist church, I didn't know about Jesus' first miracle, turning water into wine, because the Baptists don't drink. So we never heard about it. I was Catholic before I found out that happened. And I was like, when did that happen? I never heard that. They never read us that verse. So, and why didn't those things happen? Because all she did was give birth to Jesus. So, and we don't have any titles. We don't call her the Blessed Mother. Why not? I don't know, because it's in the Bible. Why don't we call her Mother of God? I don't know, because that's in the Bible too. So I'm not, realizing, Blessed Mother, I don't know who the heck that is. And then she says it's very powerful. Well, I know the Protestants don't bless anything. So this woman's got to represent some female deity cult. And I don't care, because so many cults are connected. You could belong to one coven in Germany and belong to another coven in France. And you could be a member of that for 30 years before you find out they're connected. So I'm like, no, I don't want to join her cult. And then she just starts talking on and on and on. I just tune her out. I go to my happy place. And I'm thinking, how do they all find me? There has to be a sign above my head that only crazy people can see. And it says, crazy, come here, and an arrow pointing down to me. Because they all find me. No matter where they are, no matter where I am. Craziest person in the room will come up and talk to me. So she's just going on and on and on. And finally, I realize, I have her money. She made my day financially. She has the gold. This was win-win for both of us. Why is she still talking to me? And I tune her back in. And she tells me again, it's very powerful. No. I was the high wizard. There's generally between 2 and 5 of us in the world, but the number could be as low as 1 or as high as 10. And she's trying to tell me that this blessed, miraculous metal is stronger than me. There's no power to this. There's no mystique to this. I'm going to grab this and feel that it has nothing. At that time, I could grab a feather and tell you this was used in a protection spell. I could grab an amulet and tell you this was used in a death spell. I could grab something and tell you, your friend bought this at a secondhand store and made up a story about it. There's nothing to it. There's no attachment. And I stick my hand out for it. She's all giddy. She's thrilled. I'm willing to take it. And I'm going to take it in my hand, squeeze it, feel that there's nothing to it, and I'm going to toss it on the floor, slam it on my counter, and I'm going to tell her it's worthless. And if she gets offended, that's fine. Get offended. And if she wants to return the gold and get her money back, I'll do that. And if she wants to call my boss, which is a regional manager, and complain, I'll give her the regional manager's number, because my manager is not going to believe I insulted somebody to their face. She knows that I make my days, my weeks, my month, my quarter, and my year. I'm second to none in my sales. She's going to think she didn't like your haircut. She didn't like your tie. She didn't like your cologne. But it's not you. It's nothing personal to you. So I know I can insult this woman to her face. There's nothing she can do to me. I stick my hand out, she drops it in my hand, and I clench my fist around it. All ready to tell her these things, except when I clench my fist around it, my mall and my store completely disappear. I'm standing in a darkened void, and this woman, Marianne Wickman, tells me about the magic spell I did last night, and that's of the devil. And I've split over 100 churches, and that's of the devil. And I've committed over 100 abortions, and that's of the devil. She tells me about 8 or 9 other sins, and everything ends with, and that's of the devil. When I first got here, I wanted to hit her with an energy burst, knock her back, come out of this place that I'm in. But now, let's go back to me being the only one high wizard out of 7 billion people. I didn't have the power to give somebody a worthless gold-colored piece of tin, transport both of us to a darkened void, and know all their sins. Her magic is stronger than mine. I'm terrified. I don't know what to do. I'm starting to panic. I'm sweating. And she says again, Blessed Mother is calling you into her army. And instantly, like a grace from the Holy Spirit, I knew that the Blessed Mother was the Mother of God, which is a very strange revelation for a former Baptist to have. We would rather shoot ourselves in the face with a shotgun than say Mother of God. And when I realized that, Mary appeared. This is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And she smiled at me. And it was a smile I knew I did not deserve. I was acutely aware of my 146 assisted abortions, all my exes. And she took me by the hand that had the metal in it. And she turned me around. Divine Mercy Jesus was standing behind me. I didn't know what Divine Mercy was. He had these rays of light shooting out of his heart, and they were going like around me and over me and under me and through me. And in that instant, I knew I did not sell my soul to the devil when I was 13. I knew that Jesus Christ was my Lord and Savior. I knew that all my occultism, my magic, Satanism, and my New Age was false. And I knew everything Catholic was truth. And the Blessed Mother told me that my job was to help her end abortion. And then I opened my hand, and this woman, Marianne Wickman, is still talking to me. And she tells me that she works for Father Joseph Whalen, St. Raphael Healing Oil Ministry, that he's the busiest priest she knows, and he doesn't even have time to talk to her, and she's the personal assistant. While she's talking to me, her cell phone rings. She looks down, she goes, well, this is Father Joe, I've got to take it. Yeah, you just explained all that, go ahead. So she takes the phone call. Father Joe back then was starting to go deaf, so he talked like everybody was going deaf. So I heard everything he said. Can you hand the phone to the young man you're talking to? So she hands me the phone. I'm shaking like Ozzy Osbourne. I'm like, hello? Welcome to the faith. Hand the phone back to Marianne. So I hand the phone back up on her. Her daughter comes up to the counter and says, can you bring this man one of each of everything? So her daughter runs out the mall. We get 2 more phone calls like that first one. Then her daughter comes back with a paper grocery bag filled with why do Catholics do that or why do Catholics believe this, pamphlets, a Catholic Bible, and like 125 Lighthouse Catholic media discs, which when I went home that day, I had just been married recently, and like 2 or 3 months before, and my wife had been a disfellowship Jehovah's Witness. Like, how bad you got to be kicked out of a cult? And I walked in the door and I said, "Hey, honey, guess what? I'm Catholic now." And to the Jehovah's Witnesses, Catholics are like the mortal enemies. So she was like, "All the things you could possibly be, why would you do that?" But the very next day, I started going to daily mass, and she came with me. And at the consecration, I saw Jesus, and I was like, "Do you see that?" She goes, "What?" I said, "That man up there on the stage." She goes, "That's the priest." I said, "No, the other guy." She goes, "I don't see anybody else." I said, "You don't see it because you're not Catholic." I thought everybody in that room saw what I was seeing. I thought if you were Catholic, you saw Jesus at the consecration. And then I talked to some people, and they said no. Like, nobody was seeing what I was seeing. And then I found out there was a place called Perpetual Adoration where you could go see Jesus 24 hours a day. And I was like, is there like a sign-up sheet for that? Do I have to like sign my name to something? And then like 4 years from now, they'll call me and say, your 4-hour block of time is right now. And if you don't make it, it'll be 4 more years. And they're like laughing at me. They're like, no, 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 you just go. And there's not a line to get in. No. I was like, there's gotta be. There's a line to get in to see Elvis, and he's been dead over 40 years. So I go. Shock number one. Our car is the only other car in the parking lot. Shock number two. There's no line to get in. Shock number three. We open the chapel door. It's Jesus, some woman, myself, and my ex-wife now. And this woman looks up like a deer in the headlights and packs her stuff as fast as she can go. If this was an Olympic event, she got gold. And bam, she's out the door. Oh, just before that, she goes, you can't leave till someone else comes in. And bam, she's out the door. And I thought, why would I leave? I'm in a room with Jesus. So that became like my normal hangout. I'd be there anywhere from 30 minutes to 18 hours a day. That was in January of 08. In May of 08, I officially entered the Catholic Church. I was working with St. Raphael then till about 2010. In 2010, I thought everything I could. And I needed a cool name for my ministry. And I thought the Blessed Mother was super cool. And Blessed Bartolo Longo he'd been raised Catholic, baptized Catholic, and then he converted to being a Satanist.
Huh.
And then he became a Satanic high priest. And then he converted back to being Catholic and became a Catholic priest.
Wow.
And then he was worried that because he'd been a Satanist, he was going to go to hell. And the Blessed Mother appeared to him and said, anybody that propagates my rosary will not go to hell. So he built a basilica in Pompeii to the rosary and the Blessed Mother. I thought, man, he's going the extra mile. So, and then St. Benedict was cool. He was an extremist. I'm an extremist. So I took Benedict as my confirmation name. But the Blessed Mother, Blessed Bartolo Longo, Padre Pio, St. Benedict ministry doesn't roll off the tongue. So I thought, well, we're all about inclusion in this country and really around the world now. So I came up with All Saints Ministry. So not only do I have all the saints that have ever been saints, but any future saints as well. So I started All Saints Ministry. All Saints Ministry, we promote pro-life and spiritual warfare. My talks are about pro-life, spiritual warfare, and my life. And then I also have a talk on Satan and pop culture. And then I started a second ministry last year called Our Lady of Guadalupe's Army. And in that one, we take on Satan and the Antichrist head to head. We've basically painted targets on our backs, and but we know we die martyrs, we go straight to heaven. And in that ministry, the Satanists do black masses between midnight and 3 a.m. It's an extended black mass, and they consecrate all the days of abortions in their time zone. There's 24 time zones in the world. and they consecrate all the days of portions to Satan and the Antichrist. So we've come up with a ministry that fights that. So, and the reason we're going to be targets is because Satan has power, but he's not going to get any more. And the Antichrist has power, but he's not going to get any more. And I'm sure they would like more. So, but this prevents them from getting more because they were getting more power through all the abortions that are happening all around the world.
Wow, Zachary, this is an incredible story. We're definitely going to have you back on. There's so many questions I have that we won't be able to get to. There is one thing I want to ask before we close out, though. How widespread is this epidemic of satanic cults? Would you say that it permeates through our culture even to lower levels of education? Regular people in your workforce that may be involved with these things?
I was at a conference once and somebody asked me, what does a Satanist look like? And so I said, do we have any doctors in here? And this guy stood up. I said, do we have any attorneys? This guy stood up. I said, do we have any cops? This guy stood up. And I said, okay, these guys look just like your typical Satanist. They look like all of us. And you're not going to tell. Now, you can tell the kid that hangs out in the cemetery with a pentagram, earring in his ear and, chanting Marilyn Manson songs and all dressed in black. But that kid's most likely not a real Satanist. He's just a wannabe. The people that are really in covens. Wait, here's an idea. Remember that my coven back in like 1984 had 1.1 million members worldwide. And I have people that tell me there's no way there was a satanic coven that big. The Satanic Temple held SatanCon in 2022. And when that came out, Lucian Greaves came out and said that their coven had 300,000 members worldwide. Covens generally don't get smaller.
Yeah.
So in 2023, he came out and said, this was at the next SatanCon. The first SatanCon was in Arizona. The next one was in Boston. It was 1 year later. And Lucian Greaves came out and said that they had 700,000 members worldwide. It more than doubled in 1 year. Now, they didn't hold a SatanCon in 2024 because they were donating their money to the Democratic Party to get Kamala, elected, because she ran on an abortion platform, and so do they. They believe that, if you go to their website, they believe in 7 things, and the first one is a right to a woman's abortion on demand. Because they believe abortion is a satanic sacrifice, same as me.
Yeah.
I have a book called Abortion is a Satanic Sacrifice. I tell you how we got abortion in America, what organizations I worked with as a high wizard to move Satan's agenda around the world, and how to shut down an abortion mill through spiritual warfare. That if it didn't take spiritual warfare to shut it down, it became legal in 1973. If marching would shut it down, we send 1 million people a year to march in Washington, D.C. in January, March for Life. If marching would shut it down, we wouldn't have any abortion mills here. But we have 865 just from Planned Parenthood. So, like I said, if marching worked, but marching has never shut down a single abortion mill. However, we have 4 methods in my book and in my CD set. They're also on my Spotify account and on my YouTube channel. So it's not a secret. I throw the message out there. And my methods have shut down 53 abortion mills that we know of.
Oh, wow.
According to Planned Parenthood, the average abortion mill murders 1,500 babies a year. So shutting down 53, I'm saving almost 80,000 babies a year, which is a very good feeling for me. But, if anybody would like to donate money to my ministry, I have fundraisers on my website. We have like a Life Funder, I have PayPal, I have Venmo, I have a Cash App, or on my website, on my contacts page. a P.O. box if you want to send me a check. We work hard at shutting down abortion mills around the world. Also, I talk about spiritual warfare. If you have questions about spiritual warfare, you think the devil is attacking you, you think that there's a curse on your family, whatever you have questions for, I am here to help you.
Excellent. Zachary, thank you so much. I will have all the links easily accessible for everyone who would like to get in touch and learn more about you. And like I said earlier, we'll definitely have to have you back on. There's much more that we can get to. Until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening, and we will be talking again tomorrow. We will see y'all then.